Hey everybody, welcome back to Sort of Stock Mopars. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jeremy, and today is all about the rear end. Okay, breaking it down into some of the parts I've got here. As you can see, I've got a Strange 60. I took advantage of their Black Friday sale, so I've got about $4 set up into this rear end alone. I've got the 12.2 wilwoods. I've got a couple upgraded things inside, so it's not the clutch style posi unit, it's the helical gear. Upgraded the yoke to a Chromoly yoke, and I've got a few other things here to get this thing in. So aside from the Strange 60, I've got the 1-inch lowered Hotchkis geometry corrected springs. With the springs, I've got a couple other things, right? I've got the brackets for the shocks, got these from Mancini Racing. Same with these two. These are the brackets for the rear end of the springs, go up on the car. Got those from Mancini Racing as well. We've got QA1 shocks. It's gonna look pretty nice. The silver combined with the black here. And then I'll get the hardware for this all. So you can see the U-bolts here, some of the smaller pieces for the springs. And so once I get this whole thing set up, I've got these meats behind me here. These are 275/50 R17s. And it's gonna fit that wheel well real nice. So hopefully not massage anything, but if so, not the end of the world. So this is actually a B-body width Strange 60. Now I ordered it like this. Why, you may ask? I ordered it like this because I knew I was gonna go with a deeper offset wheel, like a Mustang wheel, which is what this was originally designed for. It's aftermarket, but it's got that 5.6 backspace. So it'll be able to tuck it in real nicely. And so we'll see how it looks once I get it all set up. First, I'm gonna clean it up a little bit. It's got some surface rust underneath the car, especially where the shocks and springs mount. So I'm gonna clean that up, get it coated, something to protect it. I'm gonna get this bad boy mounted. If anybody else watching this has little kids, I think you'll appreciate this setup. It's how I'm able to continue getting work done when I've got the baby. All right, now before I even got started, I found a couple discrepancies in some of the parts that I purchased. So, of course, like many things with these old cars, right? It's difficult to find parts that you can just purchase and throw in the car. The discrepancy I found revolved around the bushings for the springs. So I ordered these springs specifically for an A-body to get the correct A-body length. And with that, they have smaller diameter ends to the springs. So with those smaller diameters, they give you this bushing right here. It comes with the kit, with all of them. So this bushing came with the springs. Now I ordered the shackles from Hotchkis as well. I wanted a little bit thicker steel. The shackles I had currently were really rusted, pretty nasty. So I ordered the Hotchkis shackles. Now the Hotchkis shackles only come for an E-body or B-body. Well, apparently they have thicker bushings. So you can see the difference here between the A and B-body. A-body is a little bit thinner, a little bit smaller, fits in the springs perfectly. These do not. Now the bolts that came with the shackle kit are designed for the B-body bushing, fit in perfectly. Now they do not fit into the A-body bushing. It's just a little too big. So I had a couple options. I could hollow out the A-body bushing, just drill it through, make it a little bigger so I can fit this bolt. I didn't have a whole lot of material on this, so I decided to go ahead and just turn down the bolt just a little bit to make it fit this bushing. So I just took it on a grinder, took it down a little bit just to where I'd be able to get it into that A-body bushing. So if you're going to use the Hotchkis shackles on an A-body, just note that you're either going to have to drill out the bushing or swap out the bolts or modify the bolts. All right, so I only paid a lot of attention to the areas that it wasn't going to be able to reach when the new axle's in. So you saw me clean up this back half area where the bracket goes. I just sprayed it with some etching primer and some of that spray on bed liner just so I could protect the metal. I did the same thing up here for the front bracket just to give that little bit of protection. And then I also did it up here where the shocks mount. These are just covered in some electrical tape to protect the threads and shaft, but just in case I wasn't going to be able to get to them with the shocks on. So I went ahead and sprayed them with the bed liner as well. What I plan to do for the whole bottom of the car is I'll clean it up like you see here, spray it with the etching primer so it can really adhere to the metal, and then I'll actually rhino line the whole bottom half. So this isn't really a concourse build, right? I don't have time to paint the whole bottom body color. I'm trying to get this done before August. And of course with the rest of the body, I'll come back to it after I get it on the road. But I also need to do some modification on the trans tunnel down there. So before I even tackle that half of the car, I'm gonna go ahead and get that cut out, get the new metal in so that I can paint the whole underside with the rhino liner in one shot. Okay, now that I got the axle perched underneath the car where it's gonna live, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on these springs. So here are the brackets that were supplied with the springs when I bought them from Hotchkis. It comes with the hardware as well. These guys right here, these guys are all 9/16, but it comes with the bolt to attach the bracket to the spring too. This is well. This is a 3/4. So before I mount this bracket up underneath the car, I gotta put it on the spring first. You're not gonna have anywhere to get to the bolt to put it in if you try to put the bracket on first. So I'm gonna do that now. It should be pretty simple, straightforward. Just slide right in. Should be a nice tight fit. Clean the threads. You're gonna wanna put the bolt in from the inboard side with the nut on the outboard, just so that you can actually have access to it, because this bolt sticks out like maybe 3/4 of an inch. That may actually obstruct the frame if you try to put it on the inboard side. So bolt needs to go from the inboard side, the nut facing outward. Okay, now it's time to work on the aft bracket. So just like the forward bracket, I'm gonna get this hooked up with the shackles first, and then I'll raise this up and just bolt in the shackle or the bracket to the back of the car. All right, I've got the driver's side in the same configuration as the passenger now. Springs bolted in on the front. Over here, as you can see. I've also got the shackles and the rear bracket rigged and ready to go. What I'm gonna do now is, while the axle is still on the pallet, I'm going to jack up the front to get it to sit even with the spring. And then I'm gonna sit the positioner of the spring, this guy right here, into the center hole of the spring perch on the axle. Once I've got it there, I can take my U-bolts, go ahead and mount it to the spring. Then I'll just go ahead and lift it, attach the rear shackles here, and set it down. All right, so I've got the axle mounted, installed, just mounted the wheel. Just from looking at it right now, the clearances are perfect. I've got a little over 1/4 inch on the springs. It looks like I'm gonna clear from this fender. This will be the first time I've lowered it. I've got the jack underneath the pumpkin, so as I bring it up, this tire's gonna snug back into its home. Man, I'm stoked to see what this looks like. Here we go. Damn. Man, this is sitting low and I love it. Now I've got the front still jacked up on jack stands. The whole front suspension still needs to be pulled, so I could lower it, but I'm not gonna deal with that right now to see what the stands will look like with that down. This tells me a bunch right here. I mean, this fits perfectly inside here. At the worst case, may have to trim a smidge, but I don't think I'm gonna have to. Even if I did, it's not a big deal. Just a little piece of the trim. But it sits almost flush with the fender. Oh, it's perfect. And these are 275/50 R17s. So a little bit over 28 inches tall. Go to the other side. Got just enough clearance in the front. It's perfect. See the clearance I got from the spring. It's about 1/4 inch, maybe a smidge more. I'll get the shocks in a little later once I get the washers for them. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. If you got any questions about the process, you put in the axle, or any clearance issues, just let me know. Shoot me a comment. Until next time.